February 11th, 1990, Victor Verster prison. Nelson Mandela walks free after 27 years. His fist raised, his face unbroken, and beside him, step for step, her own fist in the air, is the woman who kept the movement alive while he was gone. The world watches. That image, the raised fists, the marriage, the movement, is not the story. This is the story of everything she survived to be standing there. Her name is Winnie Mandela, and to understand her, we have to begin with a name. She was born Nomzamo, she who strives, Winifred Zanyiwe Madikizela on September 26, 1936, in the village of Bizana in the Transkei, in what is now the Eastern Cape of South Africa. Her father, Columbus, was a history teacher. Her mother, Gertrude, taught domestic science. She died when Nomzamo was 9 years old, leaving 9 children. The youngest was 3 months old. That same year, 9 years old and her mother newly buried, Nomzamo had her first conscious encounter with apartheid. There were celebrations in Bizana for the end of the Second World War. Her father took the children. They arrived at the town hall and were told the celebrations were for whites only. She stood outside with her siblings while the white population celebrated inside. She never forgot it. She left Bizana for Johannesburg, earned a diploma in social work from the Jan Hofmeyr School, and became the first black medical social worker in South Africa, working at Baragwanath Hospital in Soweto, in the townships she would spend the rest of her life defending. She was 22, standing at a bus stop, when a lawyer named Nelson Mandela first saw her. He was still married to Evelyn Mays. He secured a lunch date for the following week. He would later say he had fallen in love with her before she had agreed to love him back. They married in 1958. 2 daughters arrived, Zehnahni and Zinji Swa. The apartheid state was already watching. But here, this is where the story cracks open. Nelson Mandela was arrested on August 5th, 1962. Zinji Swa was barely 2 years old. At the Rivonia trial in 1964, he was sentenced to life imprisonment on Robben Island off the coast of Cape Town. 27 years. The world would not hear his voice freely until 1990. The first banning order arrived almost immediately. Winnie was restricted to Orlando East in Soweto, forbidden to leave the township without permission, forbidden to attend gatherings, forbidden to speak to more than one person at a time. 17 years of banning orders would follow. She worked clandestinely for the African National Congress, attending meetings she was forbidden to attend, distributing pamphlets she was forbidden to distribute. She sent her daughters to boarding school in Swaziland. She stayed because the letters between her and Nelson were censored, because Robben Island had no telephone, because the only way to hold the liberation struggle together in the townships was for someone to be present in them. She had decided that someone would be her. But actually, the worst of what the apartheid state was capable of had not yet arrived. On May 12, 1969, the security police came for her in the night. They invoked Section 6 of the Terrorism Act, the legal instrument that permitted detention without trial, without access to a lawyer, without time limit. They placed her in a condemned cell at Pretoria Central Prison, 491 days, alone, forbidden to speak, forbidden to read, subject to interrogation that she later described as torture, no daylight, no news of her daughters, no letters from Nelson. You know this silence, not the silence of peace, the silence of a system trying to empty you out. She wrote about those 491 days in a book years later. What she described was not just imprisonment. It was a sustained attempt to dismantle a person, to make her believe she had no self left to return to. She was released. She returned to Soweto. She returned to the struggle. But most people stop the story there. The story does not stop there. In May 1977, the apartheid government tried again. This time they did not put her in a cell. They put her in a town, Brandfort, Free State, 350 kilometres from Johannesburg. A 3-room house, number 802, with no floors, no ceiling, no running water, no electricity. A place where the residents spoke Sotho, Tswana and Afrikaans. Her language was Koh Sa. Security police with binoculars were deployed on a hill opposite her house to monitor everyone who came and went. She was sent there to disappear. But here is what she built in that house, a creche for the children of Brandfort in a Methodist church. It still operates today. A medical clinic with a local doctor, a legal advice office. She organised the first June 16th commemoration the town had ever held, driving back through the street with her fist out of the window, shouting, "Amanla, power." She would later say, "I was never as active as in Brandfort. The apartheid state had sent her there to be forgotten. She turned it into a liberation capital." In February 1985, her daughter Zinjiswa stood before 70,000 people at Jabu Lahni Stadium and read her father's rejection of conditional release. "My father says," Zinjiswa began, "I am not prepared to sell the birthright of the people to be free." The liberation struggle was still alive. She had kept it so. She returned to Soweto in late 1985 in defiance of the banning order. In the chaos of the 1980s, the townships fracturing under apartheid's pressure, informers everywhere, violence from every direction, the Mandela United Football Club became something the struggle could not defend. The group carried out kidnapping, torture and murder. In 1989, a 14-year-old ANC activist named Stompie Seipei was abducted and beaten by members of the football club. He was found dead with his throat cut. Winnie Mandela was convicted in 1991 of his kidnapping. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission would later find her politically and morally accountable for the gross violations of human rights committed by the Mandela United Football Club. The label the apartheid press reached for, the Dark Lady of Apartheid, was an attempt to flatten and weaponize her complexity. But the complexity itself was real, and the TRC named it. Then February 1990, the reunion, the raised fists, the image. Then 1992, Nelson announced their separation publicly before she had been told. A leaked letter to a younger man named Daliampofu became public. Financial allegations involving 160,000 rand from the ANC Social Welfare Department followed. Betrayal is a word that does not belong to only one person in this story. The divorce was finalized in 1996. Nelson Mandela married Graça Machel in 1998. The chapter the world had told as a love story closed. But Winnie Madikizela-Mandela was not over. She went back to Parliament, back to the ANC Women's League, back to the communities, back to Soweto, to Orlando East, to the people who had never stopped calling her Mama Winnie, and who in her final years called her something warmer still, Gogo Winnie, Grandmother Winnie. The woman the apartheid state had tried to erase for 40 years was a grandmother to an entire township. She reclaimed her name, not Mandela alone, but Madikizela-Mandela, both parts of who she had been. She died on April 2nd, 2018 in Johannesburg. She was 81 years old. Her state funeral was held at Orlando Stadium in Soweto. She was buried in Orlando East, the same neighbourhood where the banning orders had once confined her. She had chosen it. A gigantic tree has fallen, President Ramaphosa said, and Soweto grieved like it had lost its grandmother. Because it had. She was not a symbol, she was a woman. Fierce, flawed, polarizing, and absolutely necessary. The liberation struggle in the townships would not have held its shape without her presence during the 27 years Nelson was on Robben Island. That is not contested. What her story asks the woman watching is not whether she was perfect. It is what you do when survival itself becomes the danger, when the very thing that kept you alive starts to cost you. She endured, in her own way, at her own cost. You were not asked to agree with every part of it. You were asked to understand what was done to her first. Thanks for watching The Confident Woman featuring great African women. Their courage is your inheritance. Come and collect it.